Test 1, 2. No matter who you are, no matter where you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. Seems like we've never seen rain before. It's been so long that we're trying to figure out exactly what we're supposed to do now that we can't go and sit on the dry land over there and how to put everything together. Welcome one and all. We are still getting settled down, and that's okay. Today instead of a regular sermon, I forgot to announce this last week that we are doing Pester the Pastor. So after we do the scriptures and after we have the choir hymn, I'm going to come up and I'm going to say, hey, if you have a question, now's the time to ask. I got a couple of written ones here. I was going to have sheets of paper and pens that you could write one in. I didn't get that done because we are trying to figure out all this other stuff on. I've seen rain reports that some places in our community have gotten over 2 inches. A lot of places gotten over 1 inch, and we just thank God. And we hope that this week we will get a few more inches, and that the fires will go down, the rivers will rise, and there will be balance once again along the shore and up in the woods. For our call to worship, our choir is going to lead us in. So I invite them to come up.
Where the river will never run dry.
right, stay up here.
Okay.
All right, let's go to our opening hymn. I'm going to have to jump in here so I can.
Okay, excuse me. Oh,
Starting with the chorus, here we go. Sharing what God has done for you, telling what Jesus done for me, believing the Spirit is at work, giving our testimony. Long time ago, God spoke throughout the land, leading the people to look and guide the hand. Today in our world, God is speaking once again, calling us to claim the mighty kingdom, sharing what God has done for you, telling what Jesus done for me, believing the Spirit is at work, giving our testimony. God is present in our hearts and our lives, so others may know and see with their eyes the tell of love of God and of Jesus the Son. Listen to others, a story is one, sharing what God has done for you, telling what Jesus done for me, believing the Spirit is at work, giving our testimony. Tell me your story and I'll tell you mine, how God changed our world, turned the darkness to light. Jesus comes in a moment of need, as a friend or a mother or a stranger in need, sharing what God has done for you, telling what Jesus done for me, believing the Spirit is at work, giving our testimony. Joy is ours in the stories we share, learn of God's actions, believing God's hand. Jesus our Christ, God's love flows in the church, and through the Spirit we go, sharing what God has done for you, telling what Jesus done for me, believing the Spirit is at work, giving our testimony. Chorus one more time. Sharing what God has done for you, telling what Jesus done for me, believing the Spirit is at work, giving our testimony. May be seated. We come into a time of lament where we remember the servicemen and women this week and all the Afghanistan people who were killed by the suicide bomb, by the communities that are preparing for Hurricane Ira, for the firefighters who hopefully are getting some respite and help. You'll please join with me in the unison prayer of lament. Creator of the universe, enact justice and mercy in your world. There are too many who are hurting, too many who have died. Even with our best intentions, Our acts of care and compassion are too easily thwarted by those who are selfish, by those who don't care. The forces that are trying to tear this world apart seem unstoppable, and we need a word of hope, a sign of your care, and courage to continue to be compassionate as you are compassionate. Lead us, O God, into a better tomorrow. Amen. If you'll please join me in the word of blessing. O Lord, who may abide in your tent, who may dwell on your holy hill, all who do not slander with their tongue and do no evil to their friends, nor take up a reproach against the neighbors, in whose eyes the wicked are despised, but honor those who revere the Lord, who stand by their oath even to their hurt, who do not lend. Those who do these things shall never be moved. I invite Nancy to come up and light our peace prayer. Peace candle. This got those little box of matches.
We'll give this a try. It is a custom in our congregation to light our peace candle during worship as a witness to the Prince of Peace and our communal intention to be peacemakers as a just peace church. This is by Henry Nouwen. Each day holds a surprise, but only if we expect it can we see, hear, or feel it when it comes to us. Let us not be afraid to receive each day's surprise, whether it comes to us as sorrow or as joy. It will open a new place in our hearts, a place where we can welcome new friends and celebrate more fully our shared humanity.
Let us pass the peace to another in this time of pandemic to be safe. Let us join together in our hymn, Immortal, Invincible, God, Only Wise. All who are able are invited to rise. seated.
Also known as the Song of Songs, this book is the most controversial of the 66 books in the Bible because it is a love poem that can be described as sensual, but is also very detailed in describing each lover's body. Some scholars and theologians see this as evidence that our bodies aren't just full of sin or utilitarian at best, but we are created as joyful, loving creatures who adore and cherish our bodies. This is from Song of Solomon, the second chapter, verses 8 through 13. The voice of my beloved. Look, he comes, leaping upon the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing in at the windows, looking through the lattice. My beloved speaks and says to me, Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. For now the winter is past, and the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vines are in blossom. They give forth fragrance. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away.
So how many books are in the Bible? 66. Now, yeah, as we said, a lot of people didn't want the Song of Solomon in there. What is the one book in the New Testament that Martin Luther would have, if he could have, removed from the New Testament? James. Because Martin Luther was salvation by faith through grace alone. And what does James say? If you ain't doing it, you ain't got it. He writes in verses 17 through 27. Every good gift, every perfect gift comes from above. These gifts come down from God the Father, creator of the heavenly lights, in whose character there is no change at all. He chose to give us birth by his true word, and here is the result. We are like the first crop from the harvest of everything he created. Know this, dear brothers and sisters, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to anger, and slow to grow angry. This is because an angry person does not produce God's righteousness. Therefore, with humility, set aside all mortal filth and growth of wickedness, and welcome the word planted deep inside you, the very word that is able to save you. You must be doers of the word, not only hearers who mislead themselves, but those who hear but do not do the word are like those who look at the faces in the mirror. They look at themselves, walk away, and immediately forget what they were like. There are those who study the perfect law, the law of freedom, continue to do it. They do not listen and then forget, but they put into practice in their lives. They will be blessed in whatever they do. If those who claim devotion to God don't control what they say, they mislead themselves. Their devotion is worthless. True devotion, the kind that is pure and faultless before God the Father, is this: to care for orphans and widows in their difficulties, and to keep the word from contaminating us. Blessed be the reading and the hearing of the story of God and the gathering of God's people. don't have any children here, but we have some true children. We're all children of God. And so here's my short sermonette. It says, be doers of the word, and next week it'll say, if you say God bless you to those who are hungry but do not feed them, then what good is that? But I saw someone on Twitter say, how many of you pray when you see an ambulance go by? And I said, yes, I pray. I pray for whatever their need is, pray for the caretakers. But it would be pretty stupid of me to turn around my car, follow the ambulance there and say, okay, I'm here, what should I do? Maybe once in a great while they said, yes, we need a minister to hold a family's hand or do this, but more often than not, I would get in the way, would I not? And following the ambulance, I would probably create traffic problems, especially since I have to catch up to the ambulance. So being doers of the word does not mean that we have to respond to every single need that we see, but it means that we should have a very good reason not to help. My dad, as generous and as faith-filled as he was, said never give money to a homeless person. In absolutely no circumstances do you do this. That was an absolute rule for him. And sometimes when we've been to bigger cities and other places, we have bought, Kylie and I, we have bought meals for them. But sometimes there's not an opportunity to sit down and have a meal with them, or even go and find someplace to give a meal for them. So sometimes we do give money for people who are asking, for people with the signs at the side of the street. Even though they may be using it for whatever, that's not healthy. But James would rather have us be on the side of taking care of the widows and the orphans and the homeless and the hungry with grace that, well, they may not need it, but that shouldn't stop us from giving. Amen. I invite our choir up.
One advantage to singing in the choir is that you get to come into the shade. I'm just saying, next week you might want to consider it.
Anne couldn't pick less than 2 songs today.
Yeah.
Came with 6.
Everybody ready? Though the path you tread may seem so dark and dreary, burdened with care, no light anywhere. 'Neath your heavy load you may become so weary. God will come and answer prayer. You can't hurry God, why don't you wait, my brother? Just obey the word that you have heard. Keep on calling God, for in one day or another, God will come and answer prayer. Often you may felt you could endure no longer, burdened with help on your all in all, asking God to make you just a little bit stronger. God will come and answer prayer. You can't hurry God, why don't you wait, my sister? Just obey the word that you have heard. Keep on calling What a terrible feeling, nerve-wracking pain again and again. Call on God and tell God that you need some healing. God will come and answer prayer. You can't hurry God, why don't you wait? Oh, wait, my sister. Just obey the word that you have heard. Keep on calling God, for in one day or another, God will come and answer prayer.
Pete, you have a watch? We're going to try 20 minutes. So give me a 5-minute warning. We'll see where we're at. Do we have a couple written questions up there? But we'll begin and see if anybody wants to raise their hand and jump into it first. 2 parts.
As you look at the world today, what troubles you the most? The second part is, what gives you the most joy?
What troubles me the most and what gives me the most joy. What troubles me the most is that, to misquote a meme in Facebook posts, is that Jesus was a Middle Eastern, poor, rebel, and we have turned him into a gun-toting American white nationalist. We have turned Jesus, who said, "Blessed are the poor," into "you deserve what you get." We have turned Jesus from someone who welcomed anyone, with that one exception, but then he got schooled and accepted her as well, to using Jesus as a way to exclude people, not only from our churches, but from our country and from our lives. And I have lots of friends who are in that position that I grew up with and today, and I don't know how to love them. What gives me the most hope is joy. What gives me the most joy? Okay. What gives me the most joy is that, now I can't say that in a negative way, that evangelical membership is going down. But mainline Protestants is going up. That most people under 30 already get it. That no matter who you are, no matter where you are welcome here, not in church, but in society and in the world altogether. That people under 30 are losing quickly all of these tropes of racism and sexism and homophobia. That is joyful. That no matter how much we have tried to screw them up, they are rising themselves. Next question.
Don't you think it's a broad brush you're using when you say we have turned Jesus into that?
Do I use too broad a brush when I say we have turned him into that? Yes and no. I am now over 50, so I'm a white male over 50, so yes, people listen to me more than they'll listen to anybody else. And even though in society as a whole, if I walk into a town meeting, it's been proven time and time again. I sat in, we did sacred conversations of race over in South Dakota to reconnect with the 13 churches that are part of the UCC that have been long split over. A Native American man stood up and said, "Here's my experience." And they said, "What about your experience?" And I said, "My experience." And he said, "Oh, we can really relate to you, Pastor Enno. We can't relate to him." I went on a phone call with the conference minister and the associate conference minister, both white women, and there was Native American women on there, and they kept on looking at me and saying, "What do you think, Pastor? What do you think, Enno?" And I said, "Well, this is my first meeting. They have a much better grasp of the situation. Why don't you ask them?" And yes, I say we, including myself, because I don't often put Black Lives Matter on my Facebook page because I know people are going to get up. Those who I talked about, family and friends, are going to get up in a tizzy and start trying to tell me how wrong I am and how I'm being suckered and how I'm blah, 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 blah. So I have not stood up enough in my ministry, in my public persona, to say, this is wrong. This doesn't make sense anymore, and it never should have made sense. So yes, we're not, just as white people aren't responsible for racism 150 years ago, but we are responsible that we have not done enough for reparations and restoration of relationships in our lifetimes, because there's still problems. We're still dealing with it. Next question.
I want to think about what happens when it gets too cold to be here in the parking lot. In particular, it seems to me we need, or maybe somebody's already done this, to think about social distancing in the church and maybe wearing masks. And the other part is, of course, that if we social distance enough, there'll be people sitting in the front row, unlike so many places.
That will be a joy if we have people sitting in the front row, but I've never been in here with you, so I don't know if that's a thing or not in this church. Asking about what we're going to do once it gets colder. In July, we had the highest hopes in our board meeting in Minnesota. Okay, we're going to go back inside the sanctuary in September, but we probably won't sing. We'll figure out a way to do that, and we had some creative ways to incorporate music that wouldn't put anybody at risk. But then, with this variant, yeah, we're hoping maybe in October. Maybe we need to go to the Army surplus store and buy one of those big tents. Get some, I don't know. I told people that I hope that we can be back into sanctuary by Christmas Eve, and that's still looking like a hope. We may be going back to just a few people inside the sanctuary and doing tape services. We may be able to go inside and not have any vocal music, but just do instrumental music. This is something that weighs heavily on our board of directors and this lady sitting over here and the rest of us. And we will make the best decision we can each month, and the next month we're probably going to have to change everything once again. And we do have the car radio tuner, so we can do drive-in. If nothing else, we'll just have you turn on your radio, sit in your cars, and you can sing as loud as you want and as off key as you want. Lisa Ann's not here, so she can't clap that. But yes, we are, the board, the leaders of this church are very much aware of this, and we're doing our best to get this figured out, and we're not going to do it perfectly. Just hopefully we don't do it poorly.
You want to add to our plan and encouragement of all of us to get our third shot or second shot.
Yes. Yes, that would help greatly if people within our congregation and within our community and our friends and relatives who come to visit us would be vaccinated and wear their masks out in public. And that would really knock this down as quickly as possible. Just so we don't get out of these. That's too small. I am tired. I have read every major religion that has this version of the Golden Rule. History of mankind all too often tells of man's inhumanity towards man. In God we trust is on our money, seldom in our actions. I'm losing hope in faith. It's very much a lament that I think everyone here can echo in their hearts and in their prayers. And there is no quick and easy answer to how to get out of that. But we are here today. We got to sing together today. We get to see each other's faces today. It also says, give us our daily bread. So we don't have to figure out how we're going to do this next week and how God, Jesus says, let your worries of today be enough for today. Don't worry about what is to come. It's almost impossible to do. But the world has been through cataclysmic things before and will continue to do so in the future. We just have to get through this day. Another one? Tom.
If the boundary waters were going to be evacuated because of the fire, what are your expectations for how the church would respond to that?
If the boundary waters were evacuated and are parts of Cook County, how is the church going to respond? Our board of directors, we had an emergency meeting on Wednesday to talk about this, and we would do as much as we can to safely open this building as we are able to maybe host a few people that could stay here for a few days to open up our kitchen if meals needed to be made. And we do have we did ask in our weekly MailChimp, and we were going to lift up today that anybody who has room in their house, a bed, an apartment, or if you're going to be, or if you have your summer home and you're going to be leaving, that would be willing to host, and you can let us know for a few days, for a couple weeks, or longer. Please let us know, and we are getting that information to our emergency contact, the emergency coordinator here in Cook County, to let them know here are some options. And yeah, I would imagine that our church, as I know the history of this church, that we would have people who would be, if they do set up in Bethlehem to do most of their meals, that we would have people volunteer there to do whatever needed to be done. And after church, we will have a jousting tournament over here to see who gets John and Barb. Because there's a few of us who desperately want them to stay with us. What is critical race theory? Critical race theory began in a symposium at one of Harvard or Yale. It didn't become that until afterwards, 1988, and it's saying that racism isn't just about me calling someone a derogatory name or someone calling me a derogatory name because of the color of our skin, but it has been a systematic way from the very beginning of this, even before the country, be back in Jamestown, Virginia, a way of separating and turning people against each other so that the people in power can keep their power. So in Virginia, when they did bring people over from Africa, and they did bring over indentured servants, and that's how they were treated for the most part. But then when they escaped to go and live on their own, they said, well, how can we do this? And so they said, hey, if you run away with a black person, but they had two different things right off the bat. A black person, a person from Africa, if they ran away, they would be indentured servants forever. But if a white person ran away, they could have another 3, 5, 10 years added to their indentured service and they get their freedom. But they said, oh, if you white people run away with these people from Africa, you get the same as them. So they then put the split so that this group would not work with this group to get out of their, if you want to call it indentured servitude, slavery, or whatever. And from then on, the rules have been made to say that if you are white European, Northern European at first, you have these rules that you can do, and you have these government programs that can help you. But if you are from Southern Europe or from Asia or from Africa or from places that we don't deem white, then these services, these helps from the government will not be made available to you and denied to you. And in 2016, USDA did a survey and a self-study, and they found out that there's a lot of African American farmers in the South. But many of them were systematically denied farm loans, bailouts, insurance that any white farmer was given just because they were white. And that was happening 5 years ago. Yet. So that is critical race theory, saying that, and it says that it isn't based on biology, but it's based on a social construct, saying these people, white people, are better than black people, so white people deserve more. Black people are less trustworthy, so they deserve more punishment, more harsher sentencing. Like in the 1980s, crack and cocaine. Crack and cocaine, there was no difference there's no difference in them besides that black people kind of took crack, white people took cocaine. So the crack cocaine, if you got caught with that, your punishment was 5 times as much as a white person getting caught with with cocaine. The only difference between the substance was who was taking it and what they looked like. Social construct.
I have a partial response to the question, and that is, I think critical race theory is the stupidest term I've ever heard to describe something that really is our whole history.
Yeah. It's a bad term to say this is actual history. This should not be set on the side, but this should be part of it. And you're right. And hopefully, in 20 years, critical race theory will go away, and public schools and universities, private and public, will be teaching history and the whole of it. But you got to get that foot in the door. Another question. Or go with Pete here.
I've got a concern. After the musical reflections, it talks about the joys and concerns in the pastoral prayer and in the Lord's Prayer. And what we've been reading the last several weeks is foreign to how I was raised as to what is the Lord's Prayer. How do these other words fit in to be called the Lord's Prayer?
Okay, the question was, is the Lord's Prayer? It's been different over the past few weeks, and it's not the prayer that most of us have been raised in. The Lord's Prayer was originally said in Aramaic. And Aramaic is a language much different from modern English. So the terms that Jesus used and the history behind them are much different than we know. So those first two prayers that we did were translations by someone who was very fluent as a scholar can be in Aramaic, in Hebrew, and in English. And so this scholar said, here's another way that we can interpret it. Here's another way that fits in, that people would have heard it or could have heard it. So, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, could also be all source of life. They could be talking about the Father in the sky, just like the Native Americans. There is a broad interpretation. And yes, we will continue to go through that, and I'll get feedback through the worship committee and stuff like that, that we're not totally abandoning a traditional way of knowing it, but if we only stick with one thing, we do not grow, we do not learn. And if Jesus were alive today, who knows how he would have said it. He may have said it exactly we've said it, but we don't know. But he said it in Aramaic over 2,000 years ago. And different culture, different worldview. And all we can do is do our best to say, how would that translate? How does that move us today? Pete.
You're at 22 minutes. Questions if you want to go past that with another question.
You're supposed to give me the 5-minute warning. Let's see, none under there. Any other question that's burning to be asked? Vicky.
Can you repeat the question for the deaf?
Yes, what's the difference between faith and belief? Okay. Very simple. You remember that one super glue commercial with the helmet? Belief is saying, yes, I believe that you can put a little super glue on there and you can hang from a scaffolding or a beam hundreds of feet in the air. That's belief. I believe that that is true. Faith is saying, strap it on, let's give it a shot. I will do it. Amen. So we come into a time of prayer. Let's lift up those joys. Rain. Thank God. Anne.
The joy of having so many songs I wanted to sing today. I was up to 6. That there is so much music in life.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, the joy of music. I was just saying I had at least 6 songs I wanted to do with the choir today. And also I just wanted to say it was especially joyful to be singing with Doug and Casey today. And best wishes to them. It will be so sad to not see you next summer or next week. But the times we have had singing together, they've been wonderful. So the joy of singing.
Other joys, gratitudes, thanksgivings.
The little black bear that was on the Dunklin Trail as we came to town. The little black bear that we saw on the way to town this morning.
Headed for your garbage.
Him to worship.
Out of my house.
My joy is that the black bear who walked through my backyard kept going.
I had a great joy this week. I called up 2 people who are on our prayer list, and I had a wonderful conversation with both of them. And I would encourage all of you to, if you get a minute, just call somebody up and just say hello and chat with them. It gives them great joy, and it will also give you great joy.
I just want to say thank you to all the committees and people that are on the committees or thinking about being on committees. Sometimes it's a struggle to work with others, but it also stretches you. And I think that is good for all of us, and I appreciate the committees I'm on and the people that stretch me. And those and then we come to some sort of agreement or consensus. So this is great.
I have a joy, and that joy is that after over half a century of watching this church go up and down, we think of not being a part of the congregation anymore because of limitations, but the joy is that this congregation is in such wonderful hands, your hands, and the outstanding leadership that you have and that you have developed from within. And that enables me at least to leave with the very greatest of joys, and I celebrate that.
Concerns, people we need to be lifted up this day.
I'd like prayers for Judy Olson, Diane Fitzgerald's sister. She's been struggling with her health lately.
Others?
Just prayers for our neighbors Ann and John, whose 23-year-old son has been missing for almost a month now.
I need more prayers for my dad, Larry. He is going to have more surgery. He tore his patellar tendon off, and that's not a great thing to do with his brain, so I have worries. And then ongoing worries for the spread of COVID in the county and how little it's taking to overwhelm the hospital systems in the state. So everybody be careful out there.
There are just so many people in the world that are displaced, homeless, searching for, a calmness and a steadiness in their lives, and I like to think of them as individuals, even though there are millions of them.
Continued prayers for Frank Moe, who is down in the Twin Cities trying to recover from brain surgery. It appears now that he and Sherry are going to have to be down there for a long time. So continued prayers.
Lift up those on our prayer list: Meredith, Vicky, Paul, Francie, Paulette, Larry, Steve, Frank, and the family of Bobby Bakovich, our shut-ins and care center, Eleanor, Nona, Lou, Bev, those we have lifted up in our hearts, those we have who are in our minds, in our community, in our world. We come into prayer, O God, seeking a just world, seeking a peaceful world, a world that heals and hopes and loves and laughs. If we can't find the easy solutions, help us to work on the hard solutions. Put in our time and energy, our love and spirit. And to those things you have laid upon our heart and those things we see and hear, but do it with faith that our love and your love and the goodness that is in the world will combine to bear fruits that we can only imagine. Hear us as we pray the prayer. It's taught by your Son, our source of all love, who is in all times and places. Sacred are you above all others. Your convergence come, your hopes be done, in our lives as it is in your heart. Take care of our daily needs and help us to purge any shadows as we shine light for others. Guide us not unto easy roads, but strengthen our resolve in the face of evil. For yours is the way, the truth, and the light, now and throughout eternity. Amen. In our time of giving, if you brought an offering or a tithe today, you can put it up in the pledge or see Kevin afterwards. As always, there is ways online through our website and to give to our church, and that is being used, and we thank you for all who have been given generously. And we thank you for all, as Gwen says, those who have given their times and energy into our committees and into the workings of this church and in the wider community as well. For those who are opening homes and preparing just in case. Hopefully with rain and all this, we do not need it if we have evacuations. I invite our leader to come up. And
All right, so the storm cloud's coming, so I'll keep this brief. There is always singing to be had on Wednesday, though we didn't sing this week because of the smoke. It didn't feel very healthy. So Wednesday, over there, at 7. Oh, and then 6:30. We've moved it up to 6:30 because it gets dark earlier now. Harbor Watch at Friday in the morning at 8, and Tai Chi on Thursdays. If you have housing that you would be willing to provide, if we do end up with an evacuation or need for it, please let NO know, or the church office. We're just keeping kind of a record so we can share that with Mike Keyport if it comes to that. If you want to send a birthday card to Bev, it's the 90 days of Bev's 90th birthday, so please feel free to do that. I put that in the newsletter. And if you get a chance, come up and look at the moss in the crack here, because moss is awesome and it's green.
Just an invitation to come to the Care Partners of Cook County fundraiser and kind of party today from 2 to 4 at Sydney's. The employees have actually been given the day off, and so the board is going to do the ice cream scooping. Yeah, so there are Sundays, and we're looking for volunteers. We're pretty much in desperate need of volunteers for things like chore services and companion services. So we're trying to get more volunteers today. And if you do sign up to become a volunteer, or if you already are a Care Partners volunteer, you get a free Sunday, 2 to 4.
I just want to express my gratitude to everybody who is so great about when we break down after church, carrying the chairs and everything else in. I really appreciate it. Second half of that is there will come a time when I'm not able to set up. So we need and clearly, if you watch me do it, it's not brain surgery nor rocket science, but we do need somebody to kind of step forward and set up. It takes not quite a half hour. Thanks.
I lost the clipboard too. Oh, yeah, it's up here. Volunteer sign up. Reading.
And September is coming very soon and very soon. So we are also restarting our Bible study this Wednesday at 10 o'clock. We're going to do it over Zoom. Hopefully, as the year progresses, we can start doing it in person. But for this month, for sure, of September, we'll be doing it on Zoom. And we're only on chapter 5, so, we're not, and I promised to pick up the pace a little bit, We took 2 months to cover 4 chapters, so, we're not, so if you start with us, if you begin with us, you're not going to be missing too much. It's Isaiah. All right. Any other announcements to be made, to be had, to be given? Jeff.
Yeah, the bike program is going to be getting its dozen bikes back pretty soon, and we'll need a place to store all of the bikes. So if anybody has any spare garage space or anything that we could use to put the bikes in for storage, let me know.
Bike program is getting their bike back soon, and they need storage space for bikes in garages, or, hey, here come some latecomers to our worship service. Canadian geese. Well, let's rise and join in our closing hymn, I Love to Tell a Story. My song leader's up.
Jesus and His glory.
And now may God bless and keep you. May God's face shine upon you. May God lift up his face to you this day, to this world, and grant us peace. Amen.